Well, guys, I'm done with field 19. You can see the purple nitrogen that I put down. You can also see on the HUD for the soil mod that I've got B herbicide for 3 days. So like I said before, that'll take care of our herbicide and our nitrogen. Our nitrogen will go up from 4 to 9, but then it'll come back down 1, back to 8, just even tomorrow. So again, so that's field 19. I will drive on over with you guys since field 20 is just right here. Now field 20 I planted yesterday. I sprayed, I believe it was nitrogen, just sort of like I'm doing with these fields. I'll take the long way around and start spraying from the other far corner. And so today, I should have taken the short way and refilled this with PK, but anyway, I'll talk to you about that when I get down there. But now this field is in a little bit different situation. Because it was growing, whoa baby, don't go on the field growing stuff. A little too aggressive. This tractor is just not, a lot of times I'm used to using the bigger tractors with this thing. This in-game spreader and the sprayer are pretty tough, pretty big for a little tractor. So even though this one is 269 horsepower, I don't think the weight, that doesn't mean it's any bigger than the regular Case Puma, which is around 200. So anyway, here we are out in our field. So because I had a crop growing, even though I did spray, so you can see I have a herbicide. It doesn't tell you which one, but I could tell you, since this is oats, that I sprayed BB. So this is herbicide for 3 days. You can see I sprayed the nitrogen, and that's what I was talking about on field 19. I raised it. This was at 4 and 2 as well. I raised it because I sprayed the nitrogen. Now on this field I sprayed nitrogen and I sprayed the herbicide, but if you notice the soil moisture, it didn't go up. I know you weren't here to see that it was at 57, you'll have to trust me, but that's because it went up 1, but then it also lost 1 for the crop growth. Now let me double check something real quick. Yeah, it's one of the things, it's not the final growth. Some of these things can get confusing on the what stage, but it's like the second to last growth stage. It's the final dark blue stage. When it goes into that stage, you don't lose a moisture. So we're going to lose 3 moisture total, and we already lost 1 of them last night. So this field started out at 57. I'm going to need to spray it 3 times with some kind of a liquid in order to keep my soil moisture up to where it needs to go. Now right before it goes into the final growth, a lot of times it'll say 71. I just tried to get into that. You can't climb into the sprayer unless you have a tractor attached to it. That's more soil mod advice for you there. Alright, so for now I am going to spray some lime, so maybe I'll just go, like I said, I'll spray my lime last because it kind of hides seeing a lot of the other nutrients. Now this map has a little different slow down. This map has it a little bit different when it comes to, I noticed that was an awful bright purple and very noticeable purple. So notice here I'm filling up on this tank with I pick lime, I fill up with lime. That's a beautiful thing. I don't go, oh look, I forgot, I don't forget. So anyway, I guess my point is that with this particular map, the lime may not cover the PK or whatever else we're going to spray or spread. I think I'll just park this right kind of half in the woods right here, out of my way. Oops, wrong way. I'm good at backing up until I go the exact opposite direction. like I just did. And that's my worst thing, is I don't even think about it. I just slam it into the right direction. Thank goodness. You know, I would love to see in some ways destruction like they have in some of these race car games, but damn, I guess I'd have to be more careful, or else I'd have a huge tractor fender bill, you know, or ripping the arms off of this freaking machine here. Alright, so we're not lining up too well, and we don't have the right thing in there anyway. Sorry about this. I'm trying to stay focused, and like I said, I'm going to try to keep this around the soil mod, but you'll probably see more professionally done videos than mine. So we'll bring this guy over to PK, refill, and try to back up to the driveway, or at least where I can turn around. Yeah, I love hitting those pylons. I like this map that it has those pylons. There's something about hit one of those the right way and getting to shoot like 40 feet across the road. And they resets them every time you start the game. So, alright, well, let's talk about why we're doing PK before we actually start doing it. We'll jump down in the field again. Okay, so in a cycle, we are going to lose 2 PK. We want to be at 4. So I am going to spread this PK out because of 2 reasons. One, I want the moisture. I want 14% added. I have to add 3 14s. This will be the second one on this field. So I'm going to add moisture when I spray this, and I'm also going to add 3 PK. Now I'm going to lose 2 PK, which would bring me down it would take me up to 5 and then back down to 3. So after today, I'm going to spread another NPK. Now you may say, Mike, you're a crazy idiot. Well, it's the only way I can get the PK to 4, even though my nitrogen is going to end up high. Look at my little cheat sheet here. Get to the right field. When I get done, my nitrogen level is going to be 8, and my PK is going to be 4. And if you go look at the percentages, you'll see that you're going to lose. Here, let me look at the percentages. Nitrogen, I'm going to be down 20% loss. But because I'm going to be right on with my PK, I'm sorry, I'm going to be at a 15% loss for being at 8. But I would have had a 25% loss if I let my PK sit at 3. So even though my nitrogen would have been better without that NPK, it would have been right on. It would be on 5. I would have lost 25% because my PK was off. Sorry for banging on the table if you can hear that. I'm trying to make a point, damn it. Anyway, I hope you get the idea. I think I've said it 4 times. But again, that's really my goal. So this is as much as anything about getting that PK. If you look at the charts, you'll see at 10. At 10, you lose 25% nitrogen. So keep that in mind. And then at one point on FSUK, there was some website that, or log that Decker himself had written, and it was someplace I read it, that it's linear. So in other words, if he doesn't give you the percentage, just assume that, like, if he only gives you between like 5 and 10, and he says 5 is 100% and 10 is 75%, you can assume that the steps in between, so 8 is going to be 15% less. It's going to be 85% or whatever. So anyway, I hope that all makes sense. And I'm going to go about spraying these fields. Like I said, this will be the last spraying. It'll add the water, and then I'll go along and I'll add the. I'll hop back out again. Darn it! You can see my acidity is pretty low. I really probably should have spread the lime and then cultivated it in. But keep this in mind. I did this with the what do you call it? With the rapid seeder, that does not count as a cultivator. That would have just wiped out the lime, and it would have done no good at all. It would have just like erased it like it does weeds. So just try to keep that in mind as you're doing these things. So there you go. So that's so I'll be off a little bit when we get all done this field. I'll be at 6.6 by the time this field's done. And but that's okay, because the next time I'm not going to spray nitrogen, and I'll do another 0.6 or 0.7 gain, and I'll be in business. Yep. So there we go. So off to some more spraying, and then I'll come back and wrap up the episode. Certainly bring you back if something comes to mind, some good example of something. But this series will be more about seeing it day in and day out in a hopefully condensed fashion. Just talking about the soil mod, you can see what I go through to get things spot on. So I will see you in 2 seconds your time, and maybe a half hour in my time, hopefully. All right. Alright guys, I want to warn anyone who has Farming Simulator OCD to look away now. You might just want to end the video altogether. Alright, here we go. Wanted to talk about grass. Grass is definitely part of the soil mod. Kind of forgot about it as I was getting done that field, but here is my grass field, and yes, I leave these blotches. I usually get them the next day, or eventually if I get I only got the single mower, and I used a forage wagon right behind it. And I don't have OCD. I don't really care if you do. If you kept watching, it's your own fault. I don't want to hear about it. I leave splotches in the fields. Sorry for the attitude. In any event, you can see this field is at 43, 3, and 1. This is because I cut it yesterday. So in having cut it, what I did was I caused it to go through the final growth stage again. So every time you cut the field, the first growth stage, it'll go through the final growth stage, which takes away a moisture, a nitrogen, and a PK. So I am going to spray PK on this field. Now, I kind of messed myself up because I ran out of time in the first day. Lots to do. I harvested 5 fields. So here is a field that I did not cut the first day. So last night it was, it was at this, it had already gone through it didn't go through the final growth stage. It went through the second harvest stage. So if you look, this field still has moisture, 57, and it still has PK of 2. So all it lost was 1 nitrogen. So I just wanted to point that out, that the grass goes through, every time you cut it, it goes through the final growth stage where you lose 1 of each. If you let it go an extra day, it just loses the nitrogen. I also noticed that if you plant it new, it actually goes through 2 growth stages. I forget which one. I think it loses. You don't plant the grass that much. It's not like a regular crop, but you'll just have to play with it. I can't really tell you. I forget whether it loses a PK. I know it loses a nitrogen, and I'm pretty sure it loses a soil moisture. And if I'm remembering right, it might lose all 3. But it only goes through, it goes through a growth stage, like the second stage or something like that. Then it goes through like the final growth. So after like 2 days, you can cut it. In any event, for this field, I am going to spread PK on both of these fields. So eventually I may have to do something else, and the reason for that is I've cut both of these fields. When I spray this one with the PK, it's going to give me the moisture, so I'm going to end up with a nitrogen of 2 and a PK of 4, which you don't want your nitrogen to go that low, but there's not much I can do. I can't spray nitrogen. Tomorrow I will spray some nitrogen on both of these, and eventually to get them, to get them balanced out, I'm eventually going to have to spray an NPK over there. I'm not too worried about balancing them out, but we'll see. It's, they are 2 separate fields, but the bottom field down there, it'll be 1 PK short, because it's going to start out at 1. You know, if I come down here, it's because it's at 1, I'm going to raise it up to 4, but then because I cut it, it's going to lose another pK. It's going to lose another nitrogen, so it'll be down to 2. And then the moisture, I may end up coming back with some water on it, getting it sprayed with water as well. And I also need to spray some lime on these fields. So as you see, they're getting down to 6.6, which really isn't a bad number on the lime. It's not perfect, but 4.4, not the end of the world, or 6.4, not the end of the world. But again, it probably won't hurt to spray some lime. Your grass will probably almost never be right. Not, like the rest of the fields. It's just, I don't know, in my experience, it's almost impossible to get them all perfect. So there you go. I'm going to call this an episode. I'm going to go eat some dinner. I'm going to start rendering this video, and then that'll be it. So I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any questions or comments, and again, I think that over the course of a few days we'll get a lot of your questions answered, and you can actually see it happen in the fields. I'll try to keep it just focused on what I do with the soil mod, and even though it may be somewhat random, hopefully I'll answer all your questions. Good chance by the time you watch this video I'll have numerous episodes up, even though for me it'll take days. And that's alright. I'm enjoying playing the farm, and I like to see everybody understand the soil mod better. It's a lot of fun. I think some people give up on it a little bit too quick. But then again, the only reason not to do this is if you don't like spraying, because you will do some extra spraying, but it certainly brings another challenge to it. Add the crop destruction that comes with the traction control mod, and you've got a fairly challenging thing. I think it could be done better if they improve it, but I think Decker did a wonderful job. This is certainly one of my top mods, the soil mod here. So, well, thanks again, and I will talk to you tomorrow.